Mommy. Gosh darn it. Nope. I have to find stuff I don't let go. Come on, George. And you can't call me out. Pickles, like cabinet, every single dog. I just try to get all that, what? Really? Yeah, all the pets. Oh, all the. Annie, Annie, are you not taking a pickle? What? Taking a pickle? The real pleasure of film comes from so much longer. So I reach a point where you're 30 years old and seriously learn. Everyone strives to be a good person in their life, but your personality decides how people treat you, and your confidence decides how far you go. In every room you enter, whether it's at work, in public, or even online, people are making silent judgments within seconds. They notice the way you stand, the way you speak, and the way you respond under pressure. These details may seem small, but together, they decide whether you are respected, ignored, or remembered. Your daily actions dye the perception others hold of you, and more importantly, the way you see yourself. Most people wait for confidence to arrive like a gift, but Stoicism teaches us that strength is built through choice, not chance. Each day offers you the chance to decide: will you let the world shape you, or will you take the reins and shape the impression you leave behind? The truth is, even the smallest habits, holding eye contact, speaking with calm authority, carrying yourself with presence, have the power to change everything about the way life responds to you. And if growth, clarity, and self mastery matter to you, then consider subscribing as a commitment to yourself, a choice to keep showing up for the person you are becoming. Because every step you take toward inner strength is a step toward a life lived with greater meaning, resilience, and freedom. When someone speaks, do you hold their gaze or let your eyes wander? Eye contact is more than a glance. It's a silent declaration of presence. To avoid it is to signal hesitation, as though you would rather not be fully seen. But to embrace it is to quietly affirm that you belong
I
exactly.
appreciate the like.
Many people find
If
themselves
y'all could like the video, it'd be so cool. Double tap the screen. Help us to 400 subs. Thank you so much. Much love. Hello. Thank you, thank you. Oh, they're at 3. That's amazing.
Yet it is precisely in that space of
If y'all hit
vulnerability.
the Pablo is very young, you can watch him grow. We go live every day. We have shorts going on where you can see him dance to music and eat flies and
We are more
live
often
his best life.
we suffer more.
Oh, we love you too. We love you too.
The nerves that are
That's so funny. Appreciate all the likes, you guys. Thank you so much.
signs of growth.
This is wisdom from Pablo. He brings a good message of love and self care.
Someone met your eyes with steady calmness. You likely felt they were listening in a way.
Oh, thank you guys so much. So much love.
Around you.
Thank you guys.
Now think of the opposite experience.
Thank you. Thank you.
They looked away.
Help us to 400 subs, you guys. We're only 50 away. We're already at 350. We've been going up and up every day. Oh, crazy.
But in the presence communicated.
That was wild.
Looking at another person.
Hey, we're happy to have you here.
With them. It reveals something not just about how you view them.
Pablo says thank you. He's glad he has such a loving fan.
Telling the world, I respect myself enough to be seen. Of course, no one begins with unshakable calm. At first, the practice may feel forced, even unnatural. Your heartbeat may quicken, and your mind may rush to escape the moment. Yet this is the very crucible in which confidence is formed. Epictetus reminded us, no man is free who is not master of himself. Mastery is not about avoiding what unsettles you, but about moving through it until it.
Thank you guys for all the love.
You begin small. Hold eye contact for a few seconds longer than you normally would. Then allow a natural break before.
Yes, we're so close. Only 50 away to 400, and then 150 away from 500, which probably have some type of party with 500 subs.
The deeper
We're going to be releasing Pablo's vlog soon.
Stay in the present. So often, the mind wanders into
a day in the life of taking care of a chameleon.
But when you keep your gaze steady, you anchor yourself in the moment.
Yeah, he's been one of our favorite pets. It's absolutely awesome.
Marcus Aurelius once observed, the soul becomes dyed with the color of its thoughts. By training yourself to think, I can be here fully, without escape, you begin to dye your inner state with steadiness, and that steadiness radiates outward into every conversation, every meeting, every silent encounter with another human being. There is also something magnetic about presence. People are naturally drawn to those who make them feel seen. It is not the loudest voice in the room that commands the deepest respect, but the one who listens with complete attention. Imagine standing in a crowded space where voices overlap, distractions pull at every corner.
Thank you so much for the like.
At you.
Y'all see his colors are coming through right now.
Instant, the noise around you fades because they're focused.
Sorry, I had to further.
This
Where is he
is
going?
the powerful influence of eye contact. It does not demand attention, it invites it. Over time, the act of holding someone's gaze reshapes not only how people see you, but how you see yourself. You begin to notice that you no longer shrink back or doubt whether you belong in a room. You walk into a meeting, lift your eyes, and let them meet another's without hesitation.
Thank you guys.
You silently declare your worth. It is important, of course, to balance confidence with warmth. Prolonged, unbroken staring can feel unsettling, even confrontational.
Thank you for the sub. We're so close to 400.
Connect. A steady gaze combined with a calm expression, perhaps softened by the recognition of the other's humanity, communicates respect as much as it does strength. True confidence always walks alongside humility. Aristotle once suggested, knowing yourself is the beginning of all wisdom. To know yourself is to understand that strength without empathy is emptiness. The gaze should not be a weapon, but a bridge. This practice does more than shape your social interactions. It strengthens your inner foundation. Each time you resist the urge to look away, you teach yourself resilience. You are telling yourself that discomfort does not have to dictate your actions. In daily life, this becomes a habit of courage. You stop flinching in conversations. You stop hiding in the background. You begin to feel a quiet certainty that your presence is enough. This self respect builds a kind of confidence that no praise or rejection can shake, because it comes from within, not from the shifting judgments of others. It is worth remembering that the world is always watching, even when you do not realize it. Strangers notice the way you meet their eyes at the store.
Thank you guys for the like.
Notice the way you hold yourself during a discussion, and friends notice whether you are truly listening or only half present. Each of these small encounters shapes the impression you leave behind. And impressions, though invisible, have real consequences. They decide whether doors open or remain closed. To practice eye contact, then, is not merely about social polish. It is about aligning the inner self with the outer world in a way that projects integrity. The Stoics would argue that external things,
Yeah, his
praise,
color is amazing. I love that blue.
what lies within our control is the choice to show up with dignity. Eye contact is one of the simplest ways to exercise that choice. When you greet someone's gaze, you remind
Thank you so
yourself,
much for the sub.
people think of me, but I do control how I carry myself. That awareness, repeated day after day, becomes unshakable strength. Plato expressed it simply: the first and best victory is to conquer self. To look another in the eyes is a small victory, but one that leads to greater ones. So let the practice begin here, in the ordinary interactions of your day. When you speak to a colleague, lift your eyes. When you pay the cashier, meet their gaze with calmness. When a friend confides in you, show them that their words matter by holding their eyes without distraction. These moments, though small, accumulate into transformation. Confidence does not come in grand declarations. It is built in these subtle, quiet choices repeated daily. Over weeks and months, you will feel the shift. People will respond differently, leaning closer, listening longer, trusting more. But perhaps the greater change will be internal. You will notice that you carry yourself with less doubt, that you
Yes, you were sweet.
notice, that you feel at ease in
Yeah, I appreciate anyone. Come on, Pablo, some love. He brings a good message.
but the respect you learn to give yourself. Eye contact becomes more than a skill. It becomes a way of living with openness, courage, and truth. In the end, the power of eye contact is not in the eyes themselves, but in what they represent: a willingness to be seen, fully and without disguise. To practice this daily is to train yourself in confidence, connection, and authenticity. It is to honor both yourself and those you meet. And when you live with this kind of presence, you will find that the world begins to respond differently, not because it has changed, but because you have. The nerves that stop you from holding eye contact are the same ones that silence your voice. You know the feeling: your chest tightens, your thoughts rush, and yet nothing comes out. How many times have you swallowed an opinion because you didn't want to stand out, because silence seemed safer? At first, it feels like self preservation, but the truth is, each silence. All right, I'm about to go silent. I got to vacuum my room. So, but we're staying on stream. But yes, it is so cute. And I'm seeing though, I'm going to hang sticks on my wall
because he wants to traverse more than just this shelf that I have going on because I have like a sill built in. That's what this shelf is. It's like the length of the wall. And we have plants on like, I guess only like 40% of it, maybe 30%. So we need to put in a lot more sticks and foliage. So we need to buy pothos. We need some more pothos. Heck yes. All right. Going quiet for a second. Yeah, it's gonna be awesome. If you're here from the beginning, you're definitely gonna see the transformation of this wall into Pablo's cage. There's this other chameleon at the pet store. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna post a short of him probably tonight. Um, and he wanted to get out of his cage so bad. And I cannot, they're like territorial. So he would have to be like either in a different room or like a different wall basically. And I just don't have the space for it. I live in like a 500 square foot um, small house. but but yeah, I love these lizards. They have so much like chill energy and cute personality. But yeah, super territorial. The Jackson chameleon is not territorial. You can get they are territorial with other males, but you have a male with multiple females. So that's probably the move for the next chameleon will be a Jackson. I don't know what their lifespan is. These guys only live 5 to 7 years, which is pretty sweet for a pet. Heck yeah. Glad you're glad you get it, man. That's cool. OG. All right, I'm going silent. I got to vacuum. I don't know if you've ever seen what I got going on here, but oh, he's on the go. There's like exposed electrical wires. It's not the best look. It's so funny. They're like capped, so you can't like get electrocuted unless you like chewed on it. But she doesn't chew on wires. He loves this light. Oh, now he's climbing on my other hand. Oh my gosh, he's sitting on the corner of my phone, y'all. This is amazing. I can't believe I don't have another phone to photograph what he's doing. Here, stop. Hey, look at what Pablo's doing. Oh, that's cool. Look at how he's sitting on the phone. Grab that phone right there and take a picture. Quick, quick, quick. Quick, quick, quick. Is it? All right, come here. You got it? Yeah, I'm doing it. Oh, that's cool. Where is he? All right, just take a picture like right straight on. Here, let me hold it lower now. All right. Now do it. Here, go back and get more like straight on like this. Let me see. Yeah, you don't do it. Anyway, did all the dog blame me? Yeah. Did you walk all the dogs? Yeah. Oh, new measuring tape. I didn't know you guys buy it. Look. What? If I do with our phone. Oh my god. Wait, Tori, take this video. Is so meta. Dude, we're taking a there we go. Peace video. I was trying to take a video of him on my stream phone and then he climbed onto it, but what that?
What did that maniac do? He put it at the note hold and thinking, why did he do that? And now, Mom, fight on the other front. So we're just trying to move them. The turn. How far did the thing go?
That was a cool shot, though. He's like, I'm getting back on. Hey, thank you guys so much for the likes. We're at 10. That's amazing. If y'all can sub, we're only 50 away from 400. So we're by some miracle, we're hoping to maybe get 50 subs tonight. If y'all can make it happen. Oh, he wants. That was a little bit of a decent exposure. See, so now he's latched on with his tail, and I'm stuck holding my hand up like this. What are you recording with? iPhones? Oh no. All right, well, I got a video of this. He's on the phone, folks. Y'all gotta see a little Pablo butthole. This right now is an iPhone 17. Look at that. That's so funny.
Can you? The 10?
Yeah, we're graphic designers and social media managers. So we actually use the iPhone 17 to make money. So yeah, it's pretty nice. Um, yeah, we're grown up, so we can afford things. Well, it's a part of our business too. So all right, but this is what I'm working with. So I got a vacuum. Talk about expensive. George, pickles. Uh, oh my god, another one. Another one. Omi. Hey. Omi, be nice. Yep. You guys can help us to 400 subs tonight. That'd be amazing. We're only 50 away. We're so close. Thank you guys for all the likes. They are very cute. She's 12, and then 2 years old, and then George is 1. And she sounds like an alligator. She's from the Everglades. This is Pickle. He's crazy. You see that face he's making? He always is making that. He's like, ah.
Mom?
All right, who's next? Come here, Todd. This is Todd. Hey, Pickle, down. Hey, hey. Sit. Good. Pickle down. Todd down. Pickle down. They're so fidgety. Omi, stop. Trini, get out of here, weirdo. And then this is George. Who needs to get walked, Trini?
I don't know.
George. Omi, stop.
You feel hard about them?
Yeah? Who's been out?
Where you go?
George is actually very handsome, but he's freaking out.
Don't let him.
You hear how noisy he is. Here, stop, stop.
Yeah, I know. Oh, you're
Oh my gosh.
Mama.
Oh, nice. What are they? I should have asked. Sorry, it's chaotic over here. What animals do y'all have?
We got Stibbins. We got some dogs. We have a hamster. We have a millie. And we have a human being.
What's your animals? All right, here. Did Pickle go? Omi. Good. Did Pickle get walked? No, he didn't. Tell Andre that you told on him for spraying you. Well, no, you don't say that. Just see if he sprays you again. And like I said, I can take away his computer. Oh wait, you're not even supposed to be playing games. You're playing games with Dempsey. I'm serious. Do you not get on that? Did you play with the hose first? What? Did you play with the hose first? Oh, this is turned down first. So you were part of the two wrongs situation? It's easy to get first. You were the second person who messed with it? Well, yeah, but okay, so two wrongs make it right? Turning ran into it. Two wrongs make it right?
Oh, why would you think
That's my boyfriend's first thing. I pointed in. Wait. Right in.
I probably and I started what I had to put up. Let it on the way. I kept forgetting.
Ah, that's awesome. Three bearded dragons. Love that. Those are really cool. I do like them. Can you hold a bearded dragon? Or is it like you just observe them? Can you pick them up? You can pick them up? Heck yeah. Omi? Get. Nah, that's cool. That's really cool. Um, we have a chicken, a chameleon, a hamster, 4 dogs. So I guess that's 7. And I just put a roach into a cage. So I'm hoping it has babies. So I sort of feel like I own this roach. I guess I should name it and then I would have 8 pets. I guess I gotta name him Joe. Oh, but it's a girl. Josephine. Josephine the roach. 2 more if you include the roach. But no competition. We're just awesome people who like to help take care of other things that are alive. It's awesome. Should we give Pablo a snack? Stella like Roblox. I have a bunch of mealworms that I guess are starting to go into their next stage of life after this stage. Uh, like they turn into black beetles. Oops. Mealworms. Thank you. Pablo loves them. Should we make him a cricket burrito? Gotta dust them with calcium. That's like the cheese. When you get a moringa leaf, I thank you guys so much for all the likes. You wrap the cricket in the moringa leaf, and we've made a cricket. Oh, he's doing his parkour stuff. Let's see if I can get a shot of this. He loves burritos, y'all. All right. Age doesn't really matter here. We're just showing a lizard. So, but congrats. I was once 8 years old as well. But now I'm old and I have a pet chameleon. That was such a cool shot, though. Super cool. Happy early birthday. Probably shouldn't be on YouTube Live, just by the way. This is a cool channel, but it's definitely a sketchy place.
How we doing?
Burrito cricket number 2.
Oh yeah, by the way, I found the 12-foot designer.
Whoa. What was that?
Your type.
What? What did you say?
It's entering.
The what?
This.
Tape measure?
Yeah, tape measure.
Well, were you saying?
I don't have. What did you say?
I don't like bugs. That's crazy. Um, I don't know if you could hear him, but that was my son who is also 8 years old. And his half birthday was so 6 months. Oh, his half birthday was this month. All right, Pablo is ready for this. Nice, juicy burrito cricket. Uh, whoop. Not yet, buddy. Let's get a cool shot of you, huh? There you go. How far can you go out? I appreciate the like. I like burritos. So does Pablo. Yay. Let's get some burritos in the chat. All right, we're gonna do one more cricket. Just a regular old cricket, no burrito this time. All right, he's doing okay. Because, like, bearded dragons, don't they like to get pet? We're East Coast, South Atlanta. Oh. All right, I gotta go vacuum though, so I'm going mute. You guys enjoy Pablo. We'll be back with some stoicism here in a little bit. All right, we are back on, folks. Mork the Orc. Pablo rules. She is a great YouTuber. Thanks, Stella. I'm just here for the lizard. There you go, Mork. I'm number one. Heck yeah, bro, you are. Oh, I think she's taken already, though, bud. Okay, that's fair. So I'm her friend and she was talking to me. Okay, that is cool. Yeah, how old are you? Hi, because I'm 8. Scroll up. All right, pretty crazy stuff there in the chat, but everyone is welcome here. Sorry we missed you, Mork the Orc. Pablo freaking rules. He comes here with a message of love and living a great life. So hang out and watch Pablo grow. Drink Dr. Pepper.
Silence chips away at you. Every time you hold back, you reinforce the belief that your voice doesn't matter, that your perspective is somehow less valuable than the rest. And once that pattern takes hold, it shapes the way you carry yourself in the world. You become someone who hesitates instead of someone who acts. But when you do speak, when you push through the nerves, even if your voice trembles, you reclaim something powerful. You remind yourself that your words have weight, that they deserve to be heard. It's not about dominating conversations or trying to be right every time. It's about stepping into the space you already belong to. Carl Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are. And part of becoming is
Yeah, Stella, don't scare away any of our fans, okay?
real.
Everyone's welcome. Pablo's here.
Feel like
He
safety.
loves everybody, and we're happy just to, be sharing his message. So appreciate all of you guys very much.
Meeting where you had a great idea but told yourself it wasn't polished enough. The moment among friends where everyone agreed on something you knew was wrong, but you chose not to rock the boat. Each of these moments is small on its own, yet together they create a life of avoidance. Epictetus warned, "How long are you going to wait before you demand the best for yourself?" The best version of you cannot exist in silence. It only emerges when you begin to trust your own voice, even when it feels uncomfortable. The discomfort is not a sign to retreat. It's a signal that growth is near. When your heart races before speaking, it is your body telling you that you are about to break a boundary you've lived with for too long. You can choose to let the fear control you, or you can step into it and discover how much stronger you become on the other side. Growth never feels calm or easy. It burns, it shakes, it unsettles. But that burn is the fire that forges character. Seneca once wrote, "It is not because things are difficult that we do not dare. It is because we do not dare that they are difficult." Speaking your truth is the dare you owe yourself. When you share your opinion, something subtle shifts. People may not always agree, but they notice that you are willing to stand by your beliefs. And over time, that willingness builds respect. You stop being seen as someone who merely follows, and you begin to be recognized as someone who can think, contribute, lead. Leadership does not always mean authority over others. It often begins with the courage to stand up for yourself. And when you do this consistently, others start to lean toward your presence because authenticity is magnetic. But let's be clear, speaking your opinion does not mean being harsh or dismissive. Confidence is not aggression. The goal is not to win every argument, but to exist truthfully in the space you occupy. Aristotle once said, "The self controlled person is free." When you speak with calm steadiness, when your voice is clear but respectful, you embody this freedom. You are no longer chained to the fear of rejection or judgment. Instead, you become someone who commands respect without demanding it. Think of the ripple this creates in daily life. In a workplace, your willingness to speak up positions you as someone who can contribute more than silent agreement. Your colleagues begin to associate your presence with clarity and ideas. In personal relationships, your honesty deepens the bond because it tells others you are real, not a mask. People crave.
Hey, appreciate Cove Worm.
Give them permission to do the same. What starts as a small act of courage in
Appreciate all the likes, you guys.
inspires others. Of course, not every time you speak will be met with approval. Disagreement is inevitable, and rejection is part of being human. But what matters more, temporary disapproval, or living a lifetime of holding yourself back? Marcus Aurelius reminded us, if it is not right, do not do it. If it is not true, do not say it. Speaking with integrity means you won't always be popular, but you will always be aligned with yourself. And this alignment is where confidence grows roots. Many people wait until they have the perfect words before speaking, as if only flawless expression deserves to be heard. But confidence doesn't come from perfection, it comes from authenticity. Your words don't need to be polished to be meaningful, they need to be honest. When you release yourself from the pressure of saying everything perfectly, you find that people don't remember exact sentences. They remember the conviction behind them. They remember how you made them feel. And this is where your delivery matters. If you want your words to carry weight, you must embody them. Speak at a steady pace. Breathe calmly. Look at the person you're addressing instead of letting your eyes scatter. These small physical details carry as much impact as the content itself. Presence and message together create resonance. Plato once observed, wise men speak because they have something to say, fools because they have to say something. When you speak with intention, you remind both yourself and others that your words are rooted in substance, not noise. There is another dimension to this habit that often goes unnoticed. Every time you choose to speak when silence would be easier, you strengthen your relationship with yourself. You begin to trust that you won't abandon your own beliefs when the moment becomes tense. That trust creates pride, not the boastful kind, the quiet pride of knowing you stood by yourself. Over time, this shapes your identity. You stop thinking of yourself as someone who hides and start seeing yourself as someone who acts. Carl Jung called this process individuation, the journey of becoming whole. And you cannot become whole by silencing your voice. Imagine what happens when this habit spreads into every corner of your life. You become someone who is not afraid of discomfort. You stop avoiding difficult conversations. You no longer rely on others to validate your perspective because you've built the muscle of speaking it. And in doing so, you inspire those around you to step into their own truth. Leadership, connection, authenticity. All of it begins with the decision to stop hiding. There will always be a moment before you speak when doubt whispers. Your mind will tell you it's safer to stay silent, that the risk is not worth it. But each time you ignore that whisper and speak anyway, you weaken its hold. Over time, the hesitation fades, and what once felt terrifying becomes second nature. That is how growth works. Yesterday's fear becomes today's habit, and each habit becomes part of who you are. So the next time you feel your throat tighten and your words hesitate at the edge, remember this. The discomfort is not a warning to stop. It is proof you are on the edge of growth. Speak anyway. Speak with clarity, with honesty, with respect. Not because you need to prove yourself to others, but because you owe it to yourself to live fully seen. Each time you choose expression over silence, you are declaring, my voice matters, my presence matters, and I will not hide. And when you repeat this enough day after day, you will find that confidence stops feeling like something you chase. It becomes the natural outcome of a life lived in truth. The world does not give it to you. You build it, one trembling but courageous word at a time. Think about the people you admire. They rarely wait to be noticed. They take the first step. A simple greeting, a genuine hello or good morning, carries more weight than most realize. It's not just politeness, it's a signal, a subtle declaration of presence. By greeting first, you set the tone before anyone else has the chance. You communicate without words that you are comfortable being seen, that you are engaged with the world around you. But it's not the words alone that make an impression. It's the way they're spoken, the sound, the energy, the presence behind them leaves a mark long after the moment has passed. Most people hesitate, waiting for someone else to acknowledge them. They look down at their phones, shift their posture, or pretend to be busy until another person initiates the connection. But this habit of passivity shapes how others view you. It suggests uncertainty, hesitation, or even disinterest. When you take initiative instead, you flip the script. You tell the world, I am not here to hide in the background. I am here to engage. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one. In this context, his words remind us that instead of waiting for a perfect moment, you act. You take the first step that embodies confidence rather than merely imagining it. The beauty of greeting first is that it requires no grand gesture. You don't need a dramatic introduction or to dominate the space. All it takes is a few words paired with presence, but the effect is disproportionate to the effort. People remember how you made them feel. A warm, steady greeting can shift an entire interaction, even with strangers. It opens the door for connection and sets the foundation for trust. Carl Jung emphasized the importance of human connection when he said, loneliness does not come from having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you. Greeting first is the simplest form of communication, but it creates the bridge from isolation to connection. Imagine walking into a room where no one knows each other. The air feels heavy, full of hesitation. Everyone waits for someone else to break the silence. Then, one person speaks up. Hi, how's everyone doing? Suddenly, the atmosphere shifts. Others smile, shoulders loosen, and conversations begin. That first greeting transforms the space from tense to approachable. It's not about being the loudest in the room. It's about being willing to be the spark that makes others feel at ease. Leadership often begins in moments as small as this. Of course, some hesitate to greet first out of fear of being ignored. There's a
Hey,
vulnerability.
Stella, we appreciate you being here. It's a little bit of an interactive stream, but it's more focused on Pablo sending out a message of stoicism and self-care. So we'll talk a little bit, but for the most part, it's going to be Pablo focused. Yeah. I mean, I'm a mom of three. I'm cleaning my house. I got to cook dinner. So I'm not a streamer. Pablo's a streamer. I'm just a normal person who's helping get his message. But I appreciate the love. I appreciate the likes. But yeah.
The simple act of greeting first is a training ground for this truth. You don't greet to guarantee a response.
Drink Dr. Pepper.
You greet to affirm your own presence. Greeting first also changes the way you carry yourself through the day. When you make it a habit, You stop moving through the world like a passive observer and begin engaging as an active participant. You notice people instead of ignoring them. You see opportunities for connection rather than reasons to retreat. Over time, this attentiveness sharpens your awareness and reduces the grip of social anxiety because your focus shifts outward rather than being trapped in your own head. The greeting becomes not just an action, but a mindset, a way of engaging with life directly. But the quality of your greeting matters. A hesitant mumble or a distracted nod can do the opposite of what you intend. The goal is not to force interaction, but to deliver a greeting that feels real. A clear voice, a steady look, and a slight smile are often enough. These elements communicate both warmth and confidence. They say, I see you, and I'm comfortable being seen. Aristotle once noted, pleasure in the job puts perfection in the work. In the same way, a genuine enjoyment in acknowledging others brings a natural perfection to something as simple as saying hello. In workplaces, greeting colleagues first can transform dynamics. Instead of sitting silently at your desk, waiting for someone to engage, you walk in with a simple acknowledgement, and the environment becomes more collaborative. Over time, you are remembered as someone approachable, dependable, and present. In personal relationships, initiating greetings fosters closeness. Friends and loved ones notice consistency in how you show up, and that consistency builds trust. Even in everyday settings, a cashier, a neighbor, someone you pass on the street, a greeting changes what could have been a moment of indifference into one of shared humanity. There's also an element of subtle leadership in greeting first. The person who takes initiative in small ways is often seen as someone who can take initiative in larger ones. People begin to associate you with positivity, with reliability, with being the one who sets the tone rather than waiting for it. Leadership isn't always about making decisions in crisis. Sometimes it's about showing up in small, consistent ways that shape the atmosphere around you. The practice of greeting first also strengthens resilience. When you initiate, you are reminded daily that courage often comes in small doses. You don't always need to confront massive fears to build confidence. You simply need to practice stepping into the light when you would rather stay hidden. Seneca captured this perfectly. Begin at once to live, and count each separate day as a separate life. Each greeting is a small act of living fully, of refusing to wait for permission to exist. In time, this habit becomes part of your identity. You no longer wonder whether you belong in a room or if others will accept you. You greet first because it is who you are. Someone who engages, someone who connects, someone who leads with presence. And with each repetition, you reinforce this identity not only in the eyes of others, but in your own. The change is subtle but profound. You begin to carry yourself with the quiet assurance that you can face the world openly. It is worth remembering that you don't need to force conversation after every greeting. A simple acknowledgement can be enough. Sometimes the most powerful message lies in brevity. Good morning, paired with steady presence, can leave more of an impression than a stream of nervous chatter. What matters is that you acted, that you were willing to be the one who stepped forward first. This act becomes symbolic of how you approach life, as someone who engages rather than retreats, who leads rather than waits. Plato once said, the beginning is the most important part of the work. Every interaction has a beginning, and when you choose to take that role, you claim the power to shape the direction it takes. Greeting first may seem small, but it is often the beginning of respect, of trust, of opportunity. And when practiced daily, it shifts not just how people see you, but how you see yourself. So, in the days ahead, make it a quiet mission. When you see someone, greet them before they greet you. Let your words be clear, your presence steady, and your intention genuine. Notice how the energy changes, how the atmosphere lightens, how you feel more engaged in your own life. Over time, you will discover that this simple act carries within it the seeds of transformation. Not because the world suddenly becomes easier, but because you have chosen to meet it first. You can say the right thing in the wrong tone and lose all respect. That's the strange thing about communication. People don't just listen to your words, they listen to how those words arrive. Your tone is like music beneath the language. It carries the weight of your confidence, or it exposes the cracks of your uncertainty. You can tell someone you're fine, but if your tone is rushed, sharp, or uneven, they will sense something else entirely. This is why tone matters so deeply. It's not decoration, it's the frame that holds your message upright. And when that frame is steady, people cannot help but take you more seriously. But tone doesn't stand alone. It is supported by posture, by breathing, by the way your body delivers your presence into the room. Think of the last conversation that left a mark on you. Was it the exact words you remembered, or was it the tone that carried them? Perhaps someone spoke slowly and clearly, with a calm strength that made every sentence land. Or perhaps their words were hurried, their pitch uneven, and the meaning slipped away even though the vocabulary was right. The truth is, people rarely recall your phrasing. They remember the feeling you left behind. That feeling is shaped almost entirely by tone. As Aristotle once said, character may almost be called the most effective means of persuasion. Tone is character revealed in sound. It shows whether you are centered or scattered, whether your presence is grounded or shaken. The ability to control your tone begins with awareness. Most people have never truly listened to themselves. They speak quickly out of nerves, raise their voice without meaning to, or soften it so much that conviction disappears. If you recorded yourself in conversation, you might be surprised at the contrast between what you think you sound like and what others actually hear. That gap is where respect can be lost or gained. Carl Jung once noted, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. Unconscious habits of speech are exactly like this. Unless you bring them into awareness, they will shape your interactions in ways you don't intend, leaving you wondering why people don't take your words seriously. A calm, steady tone communicates far more than the surface of your words. It tells others that you are in control of yourself, and by extension, in control of the conversation. When a storm rises in a room, anger, disagreement, or stress, the person who keeps their tone level and composed becomes the anchor. People instinctively lean towards stability because stability feels safe. This is why leaders who speak with calm authority earn trust, while those who raise their voice unnecessarily breed resistance. The voice follows the breath, and the breath follows the mind. When you are anxious, your breathing becomes shallow, and your words rush forward in a torrent. When you slow your breathing, your voice naturally deepens and steadies, and your words take their time. This is why singers and speakers alike practice breathing techniques. It is the foundation of control. You don't need complicated exercises. A few steady breaths before you speak can shift your entire tone. This small act of regulation reminds your body that you are safe, which in turn projects safety and strength to others. People can feel it. They sense the difference between a rushed voice fighting for air and a grounded voice flowing with composure. Volume 2 tells its own story. Speak too softly, and it seems as though you doubt yourself, as though you're asking for permission to be heard. Speak too loudly, and it feels like you're trying to force authority rather than earn it. The balance is to project just enough to match the space you're in, clear, audible, and unhurried. Tone is also shaped by pace. People often rush through sentences because silence feels unbearable. They fear a pause will make them look unprepared. Yet the opposite is true. A pause used with intention gives words gravity. It allows your listener to absorb meaning instead of chasing your breath. Emotions are where tone is most tested. Anger sharpens the pitch. Frustration speeds up the pace. Excitement makes words tumble. But true confidence is measured not in calm moments, but in how you handle emotional intensity. The one who keeps a steady tone when the room heats up commands more respect than the one who shouts. People hear steadiness as strength. Seneca once wrote, "No man is more unhappy than he who never faces adversity, for he is not permitted to prove himself." The same is true of tone. It is in moments of emotional adversity that you prove your presence. Anyone can sound calm when nothing is at stake. It is the one who stays calm under pressure who becomes unforgettable. Think about arguments. Often people don't respond to what you're saying, they respond to how you're saying it. A sharp, impatient tone invites defensiveness, even if your words are reasonable. A calm, measured tone invites dialogue even in disagreement. This is why controlling tone can transform not just how people perceive you, but how effectively you connect with them. Words carry logic, but tone carries trust. And without trust, logic rarely finds its way to the heart. The way you use tone also shapes how people remember you. Long after a conversation, they may forget your sentences, but they won't forget whether you sounded grounded or scattered, respectful or dismissive. Tone leaves an emotional imprint that lingers. This imprint becomes your reputation. If people associate your voice with steadiness, they will instinctively approach you with respect. If they associate it with irritation or nervousness, they will avoid unnecessary interaction. Over time, this reputation builds a feedback loop that either opens or closes doors in your life. To improve your tone, observe those who master it. Great speakers, leaders, or even that one calm colleague who commands attention without raising their voice. Notice how they pace themselves, how they balance warmth with how they use pauses to highlight meaning. Then practice, not by mimicking their style, but by integrating these lessons into your own authentic voice. Aristotle described virtue as a balance between extremes, and tone is no different. Too flat, and you sound disinterested. Too erratic, and you sound unstable. The balance is where credibility lives. Tone is not about stripping away emotion, it's about guiding it. People connect with warmth, with enthusiasm, with conviction, but they also trust steadiness, clarity, and composure. To control your tone is to strike this balance, where authenticity meets discipline. You are expressive but not chaotic, firm but not harsh, calm but not lifeless. Carl Jung explained, "In all chaos there is a cosmos, in all disorder a secret order." Your tone, when controlled, creates that secret order in communication. It transforms chaos into clarity. Over time, controlling your tone also shapes your inner life. When you discipline your voice to remain steady, you teach your mind to stay steady as well. The external habit rewires the internal state. This is why practicing tone is more than a social skill. It's a path towards self-mastery. Each time you pause before reacting, each time you slow your voice instead of raising it, you are reminding yourself that you control how you show up in the world. You cannot always control others, but you can control your tone, and that makes all the difference. So the next time you speak, whether it's to a friend, a colleague, or a stranger, notice the music beneath your words. Let your breath steady you. Let your pace slow enough for meaning to land. Let your volume match your conviction, not your insecurity. Speak as though your voice is the frame of your presence, because it is. When you do this often enough, People will not just hear you, they will feel you, and that is where respect begins. Restless movements betray restless thoughts. You've seen it before. Someone pacing back and forth, shifting their weight from one foot to the other, fiddling with their clothes, or tapping their hands without even realizing it. These small habits may feel harmless, but they broadcast nervous energy louder than any word could. People notice. And when they notice, they instinctively place less weight on what's being said because the body is telling a different story than the voice. Standing still when you speak, however, changes everything. It anchors the room. It brings a quiet authority that makes people lean in, not because you're forcing them to listen, but because they sense certainty radiating from you. Stillness is magnetic. It communicates control without having to declare it. But control isn't proven when things are easy. Anyone can appear composed when life is calm, when the conversation is light, and the pressure is low. True control is revealed in the daily discomforts, the tense meeting, the disagreement with a friend, the presentation where eyes are fixed on you. In those moments, restlessness rises like a tide, pushing you to escape through unnecessary motion. Yet, if you can resist that pull and remain still, you communicate something profound. I am here, and I am unshaken. Seneca once wrote, "We are always complaining that our days are few, and acting as though there would be no end of them." Stillness is a way of reclaiming those fleeting moments, of acting with purpose rather than scattering your energy. When you stand grounded, you create a presence that others can feel. Think about the most compelling speakers or leaders you've observed. Many of them didn't move constantly. They didn't rush across the stage or wave their hands wildly. Instead, they channeled their energy into stillness, into a posture that said, "I belong here." Every movement they did make was intentional, not accidental. That intention is what gives power to gestures. Without stillness, gestures lose their meaning, becoming noise instead of emphasis. Aristotle once said, "The aim of the wise is not to secure pleasure, but to avoid pain." In this context, the pain is the restlessness of distraction, and the wise aim for composure, where even silence and stillness carry more strength than 1,000 unnecessary motions. This does not mean becoming stiff or robotic. True stillness is not about freezing the body, but about grounding it. Your feet planted firmly, your shoulders relaxed, your arms resting naturally until they are needed. From this place, when you do choose to move, a step forward, a deliberate hand gesture, it amplifies your words instead of fighting them. The body becomes an ally to your message rather than a saboteur. It's not absence of movement that creates presence, but purposeful movement born out of restraint. There is also a psychological effect at play. When you keep yourself physically grounded, your mind follows. Nervousness often manifests in restless movement, and by controlling the body, you calm the mind. The two feed into each other. Still posture sends signals of stability to your nervous system, reducing the sense of urgency or panic. It's a feedback loop. Stillness outside creates stillness inside, and stillness inside reinforces stillness outside. This is why stillness is more than a communication technique. It is a discipline of presence. Marcus Aurelius reflected, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." To stand still in the middle of pressure is to embody this truth. You demonstrate to yourself and to everyone watching that your mind rules the moment, not the circumstances. Now imagine how this translates into daily life. You're in a discussion where emotions are rising. Most people would cross their arms, shift their weight, or let their body betray their agitation. But you, by remaining grounded, instantly change the dynamic. Others sense your calm, and it draws them back from the edge. Or picture yourself giving instructions at work. If you fidget or pace, your authority is diluted. But if you deliver the same words while rooted in stillness, they carry a different weight. People don't just hear your instructions, they trust them, because steadiness is contagious. It signals reliability in a world that is often chaotic. This steadiness also extends beyond how others perceive you. It reshapes how you perceive yourself. Each time you resist the urge to scatter your energy through motion, you strengthen the belief that you are in control. Confidence is not simply about how others treat you, it's about how you treat yourself in the mirror of your own actions. When you see yourself standing tall, unmoved, you reinforce the image of someone capable, resilient, worthy of respect. One of the overlooked powers of stillness is its ability to shape silence. When you speak and then pause, without moving, without fidgeting, you give weight to the silence itself. That pause becomes part of the communication. It tells the listener that your words deserve space. It also tells them that you are not rushing to escape the moment. Silence, coupled with stillness, is often more persuasive than endless streams of speech. Stillness can also be a mirror. People sense what you project, and they often reflect it back. If you are jittery, they grow restless. If you are calm, they grow calmer. This mirroring effect makes stillness a subtle form of leadership. Without saying a word, you guide the energy of the space. Over time, this becomes part of your reputation. You are remembered as the person who doesn't lose control under pressure, the one who can be trusted to bring steadiness when others falter. This kind of respect is not demanded, it is earned through consistency, through showing up as a calm anchor again and again. But cultivating stillness is not easy. It requires practice in small, ordinary moments. Start in simple conversations. Notice when you feel the urge to move unnecessarily. Resist it. Keep your feet planted, your body calm, and your presence focused. Each small victory builds the habit. Over time, it becomes second nature. What once felt like conscious effort transforms into effortless presence. The discipline of stillness becomes part of who you are, not something you have to force. As Socrates advised, the first and greatest victory is to conquer yourself. Each moment of stillness is exactly that, a small but profound victory over restlessness. And this practice doesn't just affect how you interact with others, it shapes the way you approach life itself. Restlessness in the body often reflects restlessness in the soul. By cultivating stillness when you speak, you begin to cultivate stillness in your decisions, in your reactions, in your very way of being. You no longer rush to fill every silence, to fix every discomfort, to escape every pressure. Instead, you learn to stand present, to hold your ground, and to let your actions come from a place of clarity. This kind of presence not only commands respect, but creates peace. Over time, the habit of stillness gives you something that cannot be faked: gravity. People feel it when you walk into a room. They may not be able to name it, but they sense it. You carry yourself as someone rooted, someone who does not scatter at the first sign of discomfort. And that gravity changes how others respond. They listen more closely. They interrupt less often. They remember what you said because it was delivered with composure. This is how stillness shapes influence. It is subtle, but undeniable. So, the next time you speak, pay attention not only to your words, but to the body that carries them. Stand grounded. Let your stillness be the frame that gives your message weight. Resist the urge to fill every gap with movement. Let silence and stillness work for you. In a world that is constantly rushing, fidgeting, and distracting itself, your calm presence will stand out like a lighthouse in the storm. And when you cultivate that presence day after day, it will not only change how others see you, it will change how you see yourself. Every time you skip a difficult task, you reinforce the belief that you're not ready. It doesn't matter if the task is as small as making a phone call you've been putting off. or as significant as confronting someone about a lingering issue, the decision to avoid it whispers the same message. I can't handle this. And when you listen to that whisper long enough, it becomes part of your identity. You start seeing yourself as someone who hesitates, someone who waits for conditions to be perfect before moving forward. Yet the truth is, perfection never comes. Each moment you avoid something uncomfortable, you give power to fear. But every time you choose to face it, even in a small way, you reshape your identity into someone who acts. The pattern of avoidance can feel safe, but it carries a heavy cost. What begins as one skipped conversation or one delayed responsibility quietly multiplies. Before long, avoidance bleeds into every area of life. You stop trying new things because they feel overwhelming. You silence your voice in groups because speaking up feels risky. You hold back from opportunities because the possibility of failure looms too large. Avoidance may protect you from immediate discomfort, but it steals growth in the long term. Carl Jung once said, "What you resist persists." The very things you run from take root and grow stronger, following you until you can no longer ignore them. But something changes when you decide to face what you've been avoiding. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be flawless. It simply has to be deliberate. Each act of facing a fear or completing a task you've resisted is a declaration of strength. It sends the opposite message. I may feel nervous, but I can handle this. Over time, these declarations build a new identity. You stop seeing yourself as fragile and begin seeing yourself as capable. Seneca reminded us, difficulties strengthen the mind as labor does the body. What challenges you isn't meant to destroy you, it's meant to sharpen you. The mistake many people make is believing that courage means never feeling afraid. But fear doesn't vanish simply because you will it away. The nerves may still shake your hands or quicken your heartbeat. Courage is not the absence of fear, it's the decision to act despite it. When you face the task you've avoided, the fear begins to lose its grip. The first attempt may feel overwhelming, but the second feels slightly lighter. And by the 10th, you may wonder why you were ever afraid in the first place. This process is how you rewire your relationship with fear. You stop treating it as a wall and begin treating it as a doorway. And yet, action itself must carry clarity. If you face a task only to rush through it with panic, you miss the deeper lesson. Avoidance isn't broken by chaotic bursts of effort. It's broken by deliberate, steady engagement. When you slow down, you bring awareness to the process. You teach yourself not just that you can act, but that you can act with intention. Think about the daily tasks people often put off. The phone call to schedule a doctor's appointment, the honest conversation about boundaries in a relationship, the project sitting half finished on the desk. These things may seem trivial compared to life's grand challenges, but it is in the small things that habits are forged. Every time you push yourself to complete one of these avoided tasks, you're proving to yourself that discomfort is not stronger than you are. And once you build that muscle in small areas, you find it easier to apply the same mindset to larger ones. The impact extends beyond personal growth. When others see you taking on what is difficult instead of running from it, their respect deepens. People instinctively trust those who lean into challenges because it signals reliability. At work, it means colleagues know you won't drop responsibility when things get tough. In friendships, it means people can depend on you to have honest conversations rather than retreat into silence. And in your own heart, it means you can depend on yourself, a form of self-respect that no external praise can match. Epictetus once said, "First say to yourself what you would be, and then do what you have to do." Facing avoidance is the doing that turns an ideal into a reality. Of course, not everything you avoid is rooted in laziness. Sometimes avoidance grows from perfectionism, from the fear that if you can't do something flawlessly, it's better not to do it at all. But this belief is poison. It traps you in a cycle where nothing gets finished because nothing meets the impossible standard. Facing what you avoid means accepting imperfection. It means starting the task even when the outcome is uncertain, because progress matters more than perfection, and with each step, you reclaim power. Avoidance makes life feel smaller, as though the walls are closing in. Facing what you avoid expands your world. It restores choice, agency, freedom. You realize that most of the pain wasn't in the task itself, but in the anticipation of it. The mind built a monster far larger than reality. Once you face it, the monster shrinks, and you wonder why you ever gave it so much power. Jung's insight lingers here. The things we resist are the very things that rule us until we confront them. By facing them, we step back into ownership of our lives. This doesn't mean you need to tackle everything at once. The process can be gradual. Start with something small that you've put off, even if it seems insignificant. Prove to yourself that you can finish it. Then move on to something larger. The point isn't to conquer everything in a day, but to build a rhythm of action. Exercising a muscle, the strength grows over time. What feels overwhelming today becomes routine tomorrow. And as you build this rhythm, you notice a shift in how you see yourself. Confidence stops feeling like a distant ideal and becomes part of your identity. Facing what you avoid also builds resilience. Life will always bring unexpected challenges, events you didn't plan for, difficulties you never imagined. If you've built the habit of confronting small discomforts daily, you'll be ready for the larger storms when they arrive. Instead of collapsing under pressure, you'll recognize the feeling of resistance and know how to move through it. Seneca advised, "A gem cannot be polished without friction, nor a man perfected without trials." Avoidance removes friction, but it also removes growth. Facing discomfort polishes you into someone sharper, stronger, more resilient. The effect is transformative. You begin to carry yourself differently, not with arrogance, but with quiet assurance. You know that no matter what challenge appears, you will meet it. And others sense this. They see it in the way you stand, in the way you speak, in the way you take action without flinching. Respect grows naturally because people trust those who trust themselves. But the deepest change is internal. You begin to live with less regret because you no longer let fear dictate your choices. You create momentum, and that momentum becomes confidence. So, what happens when you slow down, face what you've been avoiding, and do it with clarity? You step into alignment with the person you've always wanted to be. You stop living as a shadow of your potential and start embodying it. Avoidance shrinks your world, but action expands it. And once you've experienced that expansion, you'll never want to go back. The invitation is simple. Pick one thing you've been avoiding and face it today. Don't wait for courage to arrive fully formed. It will grow in the act itself. Each time you choose to face instead of avoid, you write a new line in the story of who you are becoming. And over time, that story will not be about hesitation, but about strength. Speaking slower forces your words to land. It takes what might otherwise rush past unnoticed and gives it weight, depth, and gravity. When you slow down, you tell the listener that what you're saying matters enough to breathe through, to let it settle, to give it room. It demands attention, not through force, but through rhythm. There's a natural authority that emerges when you are willing to take your time. It signals that you're not rushing to escape the silence, that you're not desperate to get the words out before they vanish. Instead, you're grounded, calm, and intentional. Speed betrays nerves, but slow, steady pacing reveals composure. And in that composure, people sense confidence. The nervous speaker often believes that by speaking quickly they'll come across as sharp, informed, or impressive. But speed rarely gives that impression. Instead, it communicates that you're unsettled, that your thoughts are running ahead of you, that you're trying to outrun your own anxiety. On the other hand, when you pause between sentences, when you allow words to breathe, it transforms not just how others hear you, but how you hear yourself. A slow pace lets you connect with your own thoughts as they move outward. Think of a great leader, storyteller, or teacher you've listened to. Chances are they didn't bombard you with rapid sentences. Instead, they spoke at a pace that made you lean in. Each word felt considered, each phrase felt chosen. Their slowness didn't drag, it carried weight. You weren't impatient, you were engaged. Why? Because silence between words is not emptiness, it's a presence of its own. Marcus Aurelius once said, "The silence is the element in which great things fashion themselves together." When you speak slowly, you wield silence as a tool. You turn pauses into emphasis, giving your message more force than speed ever could. There's also a deep respect hidden in slow speech. When you slow down, you're not just thinking of yourself, you're thinking of the listener. You're giving them time to absorb, reflect, and respond. Too many conversations today are battles of overlapping voices where no one is truly listening because everyone is racing to get their turn. But a slower pace disrupts this cycle. It forces both sides to inhabit the moment more fully. Thoughtful pacing makes room for thoughtful response. It tells the other person, "I value this exchange enough not to rush through it." Slowing down also creates a stronger impression. People may forget the details of a quick explanation, but they remember the feeling of being spoken to with clarity. When your pace is measured, your words become easier to recall. A rushed voice leaves fragments, a steady voice leaves echoes. Epictetus reminded us, "We have 2 ears and 1 mouth, so that we can listen twice as much as we speak." A slow rhythm honors this principle. It allows listening to take its rightful place in the conversation because your words are spaced in a way that invites attention. There is a hidden psychological benefit too. Speaking slower keeps you calm. When you rush, your breath shortens, your heart speeds up, and anxiety feeds on itself. But when you slow your pace, your breathing steadies. You take in more air, your voice deepens, and your body begins to relax. This physiological shift not only changes how you feel, but how others perceive you. They sense the steadiness in your voice and unconsciously mirror it, making the interaction smoother, less tense, and more productive. And then there are the questions. The true weight of slow words reveals itself here. When you give space in your conversations, you make room for something powerful: inquiry. A thoughtful question spoken with intention can change the course of a dialogue. When you ask someone not just, "How are you?" but "What's been on your mind lately?" and you deliver it slowly, without rushing, you create space for honesty. You show that you're not just asking out of habit, but out of care. The art of slow words also protects against miscommunication. How often do arguments flare up, not because of what was said, but because of how quickly it was thrown out? Words fired too fast can sound harsher than intended. But when you slow down, you give yourself the time to align your intention with your delivery. Seneca advised, "Speech is the index of the mind." If your speech is rushed, scattered, and frantic, it reflects a restless mind. Slow, deliberate words reflect a mind that is clear, intentional, and aligned. In professional settings, this discipline becomes even more critical. Imagine presenting an idea at work. If you rush through it, colleagues may struggle to keep up, dismissing your thoughts as unformed or unclear. But if you speak with steady pacing, pausing at key points, your idea feels more considered, more credible. Even if the content is the same, the delivery changes how it's received. Authority often has less to do with what is said and more to do with how it is said. But beyond professional gain, there's a personal transformation that happens when you embrace slow words. You begin to live differently. The same patience you practice in speech spills into the rest of your life. You stop rushing through meals, through conversations, through experiences. You start noticing details you once overlooked. Speaking slowly becomes more than a communication habit. It becomes a way of being present. As Aristotle observed, patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. The patience of slowing down your words yields the sweet fruit of deeper presence, stronger relationships, and lasting influence. This doesn't mean you must stretch every word into a performance. The key is balance. Too much slowness becomes monotony. Too much speed becomes noise. The rhythm of slow words lies in variation, moments of deliberate pause, followed by steady flow. Like music, it's the balance of sound and silence that creates resonance. When you master this, you notice that people begin to listen differently. They lean in, they stop interrupting, they give more weight to your perspective. Not because you demanded it, because you carried yourself in a way that deserved it. Influence doesn't always come from volume or speed. Sometimes it comes from the courage to slow down when everyone else is rushing. So the next time you feel your words tumbling too quickly, pause, take a breath. Remind yourself that silence is not an enemy, but a tool. Deliver your words with intention, not haste. Let them carry the weight they deserve. And as you do, you'll notice a shift, not only in how people respond to you, but in how you begin to respond to yourself. Because slow words don't just change conversations, they change identities. They turn scattered voices into steady ones, restless minds into focused ones, fleeting exchanges into meaningful ones. In a world addicted to speed, slowing down is a form of strength. And when you learn to wield that strength through your words, you begin to carry a presence that people cannot ignore. Most people listen only to reply. They wait for their turn, forming responses in their heads before the other person has even finished speaking. This kind of listening creates shallow exchanges, the kind of conversations that are quickly forgotten. When you ask a thoughtful question, something changes. A door opens. The conversation shifts from surface level chatter to something meaningful, something that leaves both people feeling seen and understood. A good question is not just about gathering information, it's about creating connection. It shows that you were present enough to care about the details, to notice what matters, and to invite the other person to share more of who they are. Thoughtful questions transform interactions because they signal respect. They tell the other person, I'm not just waiting for my turn to speak, I'm actually here with you. This kind of presence is rare, and because it is rare, it is powerful. Carl Jung once said,
No, I have choice on.
having no people around you, but from being unable to communicate the things that seem important to you. A thoughtful question creates the space for those important things to be spoken. It becomes an antidote to loneliness, a way of pulling hidden truths into the open. But asking better questions requires more than curiosity. It requires attention. You have to be willing to listen not only to words, but to tone, to pauses, to the emotions underneath. If someone tells you they've been busy, a shallow response is a polite nod. A thoughtful question digs deeper. What's been taking up most of your time? That question shows that you noticed, that you care enough to go beyond the obvious. And when someone feels noticed, they open up, they share more freely. They begin to trust that you are not just passing time, but genuinely engaged. Trust is the natural result of this practice, and trust is the currency of all strong relationships. People believe you truly hear them. They begin to confide in you. They feel safe because your question brings them to dismiss or ignore their perspective. Trust is also fragile, and it's often tested in moments of doubt. How do you respond when someone says something you disagree with? Do you correct them, or do you first ask, what makes you feel that way? The latter keeps the door open, while the former slams it shut. A thoughtful question doesn't need to be complex. In fact, simplicity often works best. Oh, to invite, asking, what was the highlight of your week? Or, challenging for you lately, turns a routine conversation into something deeper. These questions show investment without pressure. It's for honesty without demanding it. And when people sense the freedom, they are far more likely to share what truly matters. In professional settings, asking better questions can set you up. Then nodding through a colleague's challenge, you might say, what do you think would make this easier? That question shifts the focus from problem to solution, showing initiative while also empowering the other person. Leaders who ask good questions build stronger teams because they create collaboration instead of control. Aristotle observed, the more you know, the more you realize you don't know. Asking questions embodies this humility. It acknowledges no one has all the answers. Wisdom comes through dialogue. In personal relationships, the impact is even greater. So then I'm like, asking your partner something you wanted to talk about but haven't had the chance. And open a door to honesty that would otherwise remain closed. Asking a friend, what's been inspiring you lately, can deepen a bond in ways small talk never could. Questions like these communicate interest in the person's inner world, not just their outer circumstances. They say, you matter enough for me to want to understand you fully. Asking better questions is not only about others, it also shapes you. You practice curiosity. You become less self-centered, less consumed by your own thoughts. You notice the details you once overlooked. You train yourself to listen with more patience, depth, more empathy. Epictetus taught, it is impossible for a man to learn what he thinks he already knows. Questions remind you to stay open, to resist the illusion of certainty. They transform conversations into lessons, each exchange an opportunity to grow in understanding. There's another layer to this. Asking thoughtful questions strengthen relationships. It also reveals character. You are what you value. If your questions are always about surface level things, people will see someone who seems to focus. If your questions reflect, people will feel your depth. Of course, asking better questions also requires knowing when not to ask. Not every silence needs to be filled. Sometimes the most thoughtful question is simply holding space for the other person to speak at their own pace. Marcus Aurelius wrote, learn to be indifferent to what makes no difference. Requires a probe. Good judgment means knowing which threads to follow and which to pass. Dogs will do that. Asking because you care, not because you're curious for curiosity's sake. One of the hidden benefits of asking thoughtful questions is how it builds reciprocity. When you show genuine interest, people are more likely to show interest in return. Conversations become balanced, not one-sided. Over time, this reciprocity strengthens the bond. People remember the ones who asked them questions that made them think, that made them feel understood. Long after they forget the details of what was said, they remember the experience of being listened to. There is also power in asking questions of yourself. When you reflect at the end of the day and ask, what did I avoid today and why? Or, what did I learn from this moment? You grow in self-awareness. Jung observed, Your visions will become clear only when you can look into your own heart. Asking yourself the right questions brings clarity. It forces honesty. It transforms your relationship not only with others, but with yourself. In the end, the practice of asking better questions is about presence. It's about showing up in conversation, someone who isn't distracted, someone who isn't just waiting for their turn. It's about giving others the gift of being truly heard. So build trust, respect, can replace. So, the next time you find yourself in a conversation, resist the urge to prepare your reply before the other person has finished.
That's not August. So
Ask a question that shows you were truly there. It doesn't need to be perfect.
that's really
You don't just change the conversation, you change the relationship. And when you change enough relationships, you change someone will question your ability. It could be subtle, hidden in a doubtful glance or an offhand comment, or it could be direct, spoken plainly for everyone to hear. In that moment, your instinct might be to shrink back and avoid the tension, or on the other extreme, to lash out and defend yourself with anger. Yet neither silence nor aggression builds real confidence. Strength shows itself in calm persistence. It doesn't loud, frantic, and it doesn't beg for approval. It proves itself through steady action, repeated until even the harshest critics have nothing left to say. Doubt from others can sting because it touches a nerve we all carry. The fear that maybe they're right, maybe we're not ready, maybe we're not capable. That voice in the back of your mind, already whispering, suddenly finds support from the outside. But this is where identity is shaped. If you let doubt dictate your choices, you live smaller. If you learn to hold your ground, you grow larger, stronger, and more sure of yourself. Carl Jung once said, "The world will ask you who you are, and if you do not know, the world will tell you." When others doubt you, it is the perfect test of whether you know who you are, or whether you're waiting for the world to define it for you. There is a choice in every moment of doubt. You can crumble under it, or you can use it as fuel. Those who shrink in the face of doubt often begin to play it safe. They avoid risks, silence their ideas, and hide their ambitions. But those who hold their ground move differently. They recognize that someone else's doubt does not define reality. It merely reflects that person's perspective, limited by their own fears and assumptions. Seneca observed, "It is not the man who has too little, but the man who craves more that is poor." Applied here, the craving for constant validation leaves us poor in spirit. But when you release that craving and stay steady in your own direction, you become rich with confidence. It's worth remembering that people often doubt what they do not understand. Sometimes they doubt because they have never seen someone do what you're attempting. Other times they doubt because your effort reminds them of their own lack of effort. Instead, at times, they doubt simply because they cannot imagine themselves in your position. None of this has to do with your actual ability. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself, "Everything we hear is an opinion, to fact. Everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." Doubt is only a perspective. Your task is to continue proving truth through your action. Proving yourself doesn't mean launching into long speeches or trying to persuade skeptics with words. It means consistency. Day after day, effort after effort, you build evidence. Slowly, you silence the room, not because you demanded belief, but because reality can no longer be denied. That is the quiet power of persistence. When others hesitate, when others freeze, you keep moving. And in time, people begin to see you differently, not as someone chasing validation, but as someone who earns it through reliability. The ability to hold your ground in doubt is also to aid mastery. If you've already decided who you are, then doubt has less influence. It may sting, but it does not derail you. The critic outside cannot shake the conviction inside. This is why clarity, values, and purpose is so important. When you know why you are doing what you are doing, when you have aligned it with who you want to become, outside noise becomes background. You may hear it, but you no longer live by it. Think about the power of calm in tense moments. When someone doubts you publicly, people are watching. Not just what you say, but how you carry yourself. If you grow defensive, it signals insecurity. If you explode in anger, it signals fragility. But if you remain calm, steady, and assured, you signal strength. You're showing that your confidence isn't fragile, that it doesn't depend on universal agreement. And credibility matters because it outlasts the moment. Words fade, but results remain. A person may doubt your ability today, but 6 months from now, if you've acted consistently, their opinion becomes irrelevant. They may never admit they were wrong, but you won't need them to. By then, you will already have proven it to yourself. That's the real win. Not forcing others to believe in you, but building belief in yourself through proof of action. There's also something freeing about no longer fearing doubt. When you accept that people will question you, you stop trying to prevent it. Instead, you prepare yourself for it. You learn to welcome it as part of the process. Plato once observed, "The measure of a man is what he does with power." And doubt is, in its own way, a form of power. It has the potential to stop you. But how you respond determines whether that power is destructive or strengthening. Of course, doubt doesn't only come from others. Often the harshest critic is inside your own mind. You may start projects, but hesitate halfway through, wondering if you're truly capable. You may question whether you deserve opportunities or whether you're qualified to pursue them. This inner doubt can be even louder than external criticism, but the strategy is the same. Hold your ground. Take the next step anyway. Keep moving through the resistance until your actions prove to yourself what your doubts denied. Facing doubt with calm persistence is also contagious. Others notice. They may begin by doubting you, but in time, they'll turn to you when hesitation grips them. Why? Because you've built a reputation as someone who doesn't crumble under pressure, someone who doesn't flinch when questioned, someone who moves forward even in uncertainty. That kind of steadiness makes people trust you, follow you, and rely on you. Holding your ground in the face of doubt doesn't mean being stubborn in every situation. Wisdom is knowing when the doubt points to a real weakness you should work on. Confidence is not about ignoring feedback, it's about discerning whether the doubt is based on truth or projection. If it's truth, you grow from it. If it's projection, you move past it. Both require steadiness, not panic. Both require the humility to learn and the courage to persist. And over time, this practice of holding your ground shapes identity. You stop fearing whether people will approve of you because you no longer depend on their approval. You stand because you've chosen to, not because others allow it. And when you live this way, you walk into rooms differently. You speak differently. You carry a presence that says, without words, I know who I am, and I'm not shaken by your doubt. So when the moment comes, and it surely will, when someone questions your ability, resist the instinct to shrink or explode. Instead, stand steady. Meet the doubt with persistence, not panic. Let your actions accumulate like stones building a foundation. With each one, you'll rise higher until the voices of doubt are drowned out by the strength of what you've built. And in the end, the most important voice, the one inside you, will no longer whisper fear, but certainty. Because you will have proven to yourself above all that you can hold your ground. There are moments in life when a room falls silent, when eyes shift from one person to another, waiting for someone else to move first. It could be as simple as deciding where to eat, or as serious as steering a group through a challenge. In those moments, hesitation spreads like a fog. Everyone waits, hoping someone else will carry the weight of action. Leadership begins here, not in grand speeches or titles, but in the decision to step forward when others remain still. To take that first step is to claim authority, not the kind that demands recognition, but the kind that quietly demonstrates strength. True leadership is not just boldness in dramatic moments. It is consistency in the everyday. It shows itself in the way you carry yourself when no one is watching, in the way you choose clarity over confusion, in the way you bring calm where there is uncertainty. Aristotle once said, "The true test of a man's character is what he does when no one is watching." The same is true of leadership. It isn't only about visible victories. It's about the discipline of presence in ordinary moments, the willingness to own responsibility when it would be easier to remain passive. What most people don't realize is that hesitation has a gravity to it. When no one acts, the weight of inaction grows heavier. A decision left hanging becomes more intimidating by the second. That's why the one who breaks the silence, the one who initiates the first movement, often becomes the natural leader. Not because they had the perfect plan, but because they had the courage to move before certainty arrived. It's tempting to believe leadership means always having the answers, but that belief is misleading. Leaders are not defined by perfect solutions. They are defined by their willingness to start, to risk being wrong, to carry the group into action, rather than leaving them stranded in stillness. Think about how this looks in daily life. In a workplace, everyone hesitates when a problem arises. Fear of being wrong keeps mouths shut and hands lowered. But the one who suggests a direction, even tentatively, transforms the silence into a path forward. In friendships, hesitation often appears in the form of avoiding tough conversations. No one wants to bring up what needs to be said, but the person who does, with calm and honesty, leads not because they dominate, but because they care enough to move past the paralysis of silence. The beauty of stepping forward in uncertain moments is that it shapes not just how others see you, but how you see yourself. Every time you push through hesitation, you prove to yourself that you can bear the weight of responsibility. Confidence is built less from thinking about action and more from acting when the urge to hold back is strongest. Leadership in hesitation also requires calm. Anyone can rush into movement with frantic energy, but real authority comes from composure. Others notice the difference between someone who panics and someone who steps forward with steadiness. Composure signals not just action, but reliability. Epictetus advised, "No great thing is created suddenly." Leadership is not about rushing, it's about choosing deliberately, even if the choice is imperfect. Steadiness of your presence matters as much as the decision itself. Over time, those who consistently lead in moments of hesitation become anchors for the people around them. When uncertainty rises, eyes naturally turn to them, not because they are always right, but because they are always willing. That willingness is rare, and because it is rare, it becomes invaluable. People gravitate to those who make them feel safer in uncertainty. They may not remember every word you said, but they will remember that you acted when no one else would. But it's also important to understand that leading in hesitation does not mean controlling every situation. Leadership is not about silencing others or forcing your ideas. It's about creating momentum and then inviting others into it. A true leader breaks the stillness with action, then opens the door for collaboration. This is why humility is so central to lasting leadership. If you step forward only to dominate, you might gain temporary control, but you lose trust. If you step forward to guide and include, trust grows stronger with every moment. In personal growth, Leading in hesitation becomes a powerful mirror. Every time you choose to act when fear tempts you to wait, you remind yourself that you can be trusted with your own life. This self-trust builds resilience. It allows you to handle setbacks without collapsing. When you've seen yourself move in hesitation before, you know you can do it again. The muscle of courage grows stronger with repetition. Aristotle noted, courage is the first of human qualities, because it is the quality which guarantees the others. Without courage, hesitation rules you. With courage, every other virtue, patience, honesty, persistence becomes possible. And as you build this habit, you will notice something profound. You begin to live differently. You stop waiting for others to decide for you. You stop depending on perfect clarity before moving forward. You embrace the truth. Clarity often comes after the first step, not before it. Life opens to those who lead in hesitation because they are the ones who create movement, and movement is what shapes destiny. So when you find yourself in that familiar silence, when the air is thick with hesitation and no one wants to move first, remember this. Leadership does not wait. It does not beg for certainty. It does not hide in comfort. Leadership begins with the courage to step forward, to risk, to act when others freeze. And each time you do, you shape not only the course of the moment, but the course of your life. The way you enter a room matters more than most people realize. Before you ever say a word, people have already started forming impressions. If you drag your feet, slump your shoulders, or move without energy, you send a message of hesitation. You make yourself invisible even while standing in plain sight. But if you walk with upright posture, steady rhythm, and quiet assurance, something shifts. People notice you without even knowing why. It's not arrogance, not an attempt to demand attention. It's simply the natural presence that comes from carrying yourself with intention. Presence doesn't begin when you open your mouth. It begins with the way you step into the space. Human beings are wired to read body language long before they process words. Long ago, our ancestors relied on these subtle signals to decide if someone was a threat, a leader, or someone safe to follow. That instinct hasn't disappeared. Today, people may not consciously think about your walk, but they feel it. They register the confidence in the way you move, the steadiness in your posture, the rhythm in your stride. Carl Jung once said, "You are what you do, not what you say you'll do." Every step you take into a room is a quiet doing. It speaks louder than promises, shaping the way others experience you before you have the chance to explain yourself. When you walk with intention, you align your inner world with your outer expression. You don't just stumble in, you arrive. There's a sense of presence in the way your head is held, in the way your shoulders are set, in the quiet rhythm of your breath. That presence tells others that you are not rushing through life absent-mindedly, but that you are awake, grounded, and aware of the space you're entering. Think of how differently you feel when you move with awareness. On the days you slump and shuffle, the world feels heavier, conversations feel harder, and confidence feels distant. But when you walk upright, as though each step matters, your energy shifts. You feel more focused, more capable, more engaged. The body influences the mind as much as the mind influences the body. Seneca observed, "We suffer more often in imagination than in reality." Often, we imagine that confidence comes only from internal belief, but reality shows us that action, the way we move, breathe, and carry ourselves, creates that belief. Intention in movement builds intention in thought, and the impact doesn't stop with you. Others react to what you project. If you enter a room distracted and hesitant, people sense it, and they mirror that uncertainty back to you. But if you arrive with steady posture and deliberate presence, they respond differently. They listen sooner, They trust quicker and they respect more deeply. You don't need to speak louder to be heard. You need to carry yourself in a way that says, without words, I belong here. This is why leadership and presence often begin long before the first word is spoken. Walking with intention also creates momentum. The way you enter a room sets the tone for what follows. If you walk in timidly, you start behind, struggling to catch up. If you walk in with steadiness, you begin ahead, carrying the kind of presence that makes people pay attention. There's a subtle but powerful truth here. People decide who you are long before you finish your first sentence. Not because they're shallow, but because human beings are constantly reading signals. They notice whether you hesitate or whether you stride. They notice whether you collapse. Finally, that annoying 5-year-old's gone. They notice whether you drift into a space or whether you arrive. Presence is not about dominating others. It's about showing respect for yourself and for the moment by walking into it with intention. Even silence becomes easier to carry when your body is intentional. Imagine standing in front of a group, waiting to speak. If your posture is weak and your movement restless, the silence feels awkward. But if your stance is steady, your shoulders squared, your breath calm, the silence feels deliberate. People lean in, waiting, because the stillness communicates confidence rather than discomfort. Consider how much of life is influenced by the way we show up physically. Job interviews, first dates, group meetings, even casual encounters in public spaces. All of them begin with presence. The walk into the room, the way you carry yourself as eyes turn toward you, the intention in your body before your words arrive. If you treat these moments as unimportant, you throw away opportunities. But if you practice intention, you set yourself apart instantly. You become memorable not because you shouted, but because your presence spoke for you. This doesn't mean faking something you're not. Walking with intention isn't about pretending to be invincible or puffing yourself up with false bravado. It's about aligning your posture and movement with the truth you want to live by. And the ripple effect is enormous. When you walk with intention, you inspire others to rise to the moment as well. People are drawn to steadiness. They sense it and respond to it. In a world filled with distraction, scattered energy, and restless motion, the person who moves deliberately stands out. They become the anchor others look toward. Ultimately, the way you walk is the way you live. It reflects whether you drift aimlessly or move deliberately, whether you collapse inward or expand outward. Every step carries a message. You cannot always control the circumstances of a room, but you can control how you enter it. And that choice, step after step, day after day, shapes not only how people